What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me. I am doing this live, but I am intending this to be a video later, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, doing live stuff here to get into it. So as people join, hopefully you will catch up. You can always kind of rewind. You don't have to be live with me. You can watch live or, however you want to do it. But anyway, the Journey released yesterday, which was November 17th, 2023. And I haven't been able to get out any comparison videos yet. And so I thought that, we'll just take a look at some stuff and do this live, since it's more fun to have interaction, to have people ask questions rather than me just writing something and giving it to you so we can do all that stuff. Sorry for the technical issues for those watching live. I actually started the wrong stream. So, and then it freaked out when I canceled it and moved on. So anyway, so what we're going to do first is we're going to take a look at the Journey. We put a review up and we compared it to a few things, but there's several other things that people want to see it compared to. So we're going to take a look at the Journey first. And we'll start with Angel to get to kind of refresh everybody's memory here. And this is the cuts version. So what normally happens is we get all the footage and then I chop all the dead space out of it, and then I remove a handful of shots just based on, if we throw one out the window or something, it has no value to the video. I'm not getting rid of it to hide bad ball reaction or whatever. But misses are subjective. It depends on what pattern you're bowling on, how you throw the ball, whatever else. So you're not going to be able to tell anything by misses, especially if we miss an arrow right. You're not going to get any valuable information off of that. And then of those cuts, a certain amount makes it into the actual video, because I may not be able to, I know it's a shocker, but I may not be able to talk over a video for 5 solid minutes. So all right, please tell me, please let me know about the video quality. This has been an issue in the past, which is why I don't tend to do things like this. But I have uploaded some of these. Some of them are still processing. So hopefully the video quality is good enough that you can kind of see what's going on. For Angels, we like going down on the surface. We like taking it down to 1,000 grit. Yeah, should do a bloopers thing. That's actually a good idea. But we like going down to 1,000 grit. Factory gloss of any kind is just not good for ball reaction. They really shine them up at the factory so that they look pretty on the wall in the pro shop. And so we recommend adjusting them to make them a little bit more consistent and predictable. So we took hers down to, yeah, it's a little blurry. Hopefully it's not terribly blurry, but I've got the next several videos uploaded. I forgot that I had to do this, so I'm kind of playing catch up here. So we took hers down to 1,000 grit, and then we finished it with React-A-Scuff, which is kind of 3,000-ish. I like the React-A-Scuff better than an actual 3,000 pad, because React-A-Scuff is going to give you the same grit every time. As you use a pad, it ages and it wears, and so the first use might be 3,000, next use might be 3,200, then you're at 3,500, then you're at a 4,000 pad, and so React-A-Scuff doesn't age. It's the same. It gives you the exact same surface every single time. So the Journey is it's like the tale of two balls. It does something different the first 30 feet and then turns into a different ball at 30 feet. It's very, very clean up front. It just sails through the first 30 feet. It doesn't really rev up much. The only reason it starts spinning faster down towards the end of the lane is because it's getting traction. It's not spinning on the oil, so it doesn't really rev up a whole bunch. It's kind of like the Fate, which didn't. It makes sense. They have the same core. This is the Journey, of course, is the Pearl version of the. Turn this. Little bowling sounds. You don't just have to listen to me drone. So the. It has the Fate core, which is the F8 core, 252.053, I believe. And then the Journey is the TX16 cover. It's the Pearl version of the Phase 2 cover, whereas the Fate was REX Pearl, which technically REX is stronger, but REX is really clean for really clean and kind of weak for how strong it's actually supposed to be. The Fate is earlier and smoother than this, definitely, and we will see that comparison here in a little bit. But the Journey is very clean up front, like the Fate, but it's faster and more tumbly down lane. You can see it's very... Other balls that share a similar shape are kind of like the Duo, Nova, Hustle USA. Those are all different strengths. So I'm just talking about kind of the shape on the back end, where it just kind of looks like a rock rolling downhill. That's what tumbly means, basically. So it just kind of spin, 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 spin. It doesn't look. It's not that round kind of continuous shape of like an IQ. But it's also not kind of a more angular directional look like the Duo. It gets to the spot and then it turns and it goes directly in the direction of the rotation. This one kind of goes flop, 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 flop. Oh, we're going to start hooking, flop, flop some more. It is surprisingly clean. And I think a few of these shots that just didn't recover, it's another one that's a little hard to read like the Fate was, because the Fate would very quietly hook a lot more than you expected it to, because it looked clean, it looked controllable, but it would both hook more and hook less than you expected it to all at the same time. Yes, the gold label is sharper. I have it sharper anyway. So Angels, this is exactly the type of reaction she likes. But it works out pretty good for her, because this same shape that she uses in stuff like a Summit or something, normally this shape is stronger. Summit, Supernova, Eternity Pi, kind of similar to that stuff, but this doesn't start. The Journey doesn't start up near as early as those balls do. And so it works out a little bit better for her when she starts, because she does have softer speed. And so it works out better for her when she has to go to get the ball down the lane. I'm going to go ahead and see if one of mine... There we go. All right, so let's try this. I'm going to go ahead and end hers. I'm going to move to one of mine. So I'm going to start with the shiny version. We'll see if this is better. Hopefully this is better as far as the video quality goes. Mine is sharper than hers, but I'm not necessarily sure it's sharper. I think it's just a left side thing. This is shiny, but I reset the surface. I did not throw it out of the box. So I took it down to 1,000, and then I brought it back up with Storm Step 2 compound. Yeah, I don't have the unlimited data, and I have selected 1080p. It's just the problem of if I'm streaming it, or if I'm playing it from my hard drive, it tends to not be as high on the quality as if I actually upload the video and play it from the upload. So yeah, I mean, I see it clearly, but the problem has been that trying to stream and both pull video from the hard drive or play the video from the hard drive at the same time is a problem. So. Oh, okay, that's on the watching it side. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that, after I just completely misunderstood exactly what you were talking about. I have not used the new compounds yet because they haven't made them available to the staff. And sorry, but I'm just not going to I'm just not going to buy two $35 bottles of a compound just to advertise it for somebody else and get absolutely nothing out of it. So as soon as I can order it through the website with my credits, I will do that. Because I would like to try it out. From what I've heard, it's definitely a whole lot better than reactor gloss. It's supposed to be rough edge is supposed to be between step 1 and step 2, and smooth edge is supposed to be between step 2 and step 3. Okay, great, Kelly. So I definitely do want to try it out. For now, I still have 3/4. Whoops. I still have 3/4 of a bottle of step 2 left. So that's what I've been using. And even though I shine it back up, like shiny, it looked okay. But I've liked surface a whole lot better now because stuff's just a little too clean and too sharp on the left side to begin with. So adding some surface definitely helps blend that out. The Journey looks a whole lot better on chromium for me, both shiny and sanded, than it looks on the house shot. I tried it again last night. It is just way too fast on the house shot for me. It looks really good for Angel. On the house shot, it's just not a thing. Because after throwing it on this, I had hoped that it would be a nice step down from my Summit because it has that same kind of tumbly shape. It's just cleaner and sharper, and so sometimes the Summit is just too strong, too slow, too whatever else, and so having a complement to that would be great because the Summit works really good for me. It's just the Journey is about the right amount of hook. It's the right length what I want, but then when it hits friction down lane, it's way too fast. It just goes sideways, nearly uncontrollable on a house shot for me. So I'm going to have to find something else. But yeah, it doesn't give me a whole lot of forgiveness. It's just, it wants to be fast. Now for people that, it's like Ricky Bobby. It's just, call it that. It's the Journey is the Ricky Bobby ball. So yeah, James, I think she did use her Journey game 3, and it looked pretty good for her. Hers is smoother, but everything's smoother on the right side, so I don't know how to really interpret that. So yeah, I'm going to go on ahead and move to the Rev Challenge. Thank you. I'll pop that up. Fate and Journey in the same bag. Compliments. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to have that. I'm going to have that comparison here in a minute. I'm going to put the. Whoops. So yeah, I'm going to go on ahead and put the standard version. So I took this to 2000 grit, and we're going to take a look at it now. I've mentioned this before all the time that stronger cover stocks, like is on this one, TX16 is a fairly strong cover stock. When you add surface or add polish, you don't necessarily affect the total hook amount too much unless you take it to like 500 grit or something. But if you have it in like usable grits, I would consider 2000 to polished usable grits, because anything under that, like 1000 grit, you're just looking for the ball to just dig in and stop and just hook. So you're not really looking to do a whole lot more than just make the ball fly, or not fly, I guess, but just dig. The Journey doesn't get a whole lot. It hooks about the same amount at 2000 versus shiny. It's just smoother at 2000 grit. But the Fate and the Journey, yeah, definitely can go in the same bag. They're the same ball for 30 feet, but then the Fate is a lot smoother and rounder. Down lane, the Journey picks up and goes. It wants to fly. And even though the Fate is technically the stronger ball on paper, the Journey is going to look like the stronger ball because it still hooks a decent amount, plus it's also faster on the back end than the Fate. So you're going to find Fate is earlier than the Journey, but they're close enough that on the vast majority of conditions that you're going to bowl on, the Journey is going to look like the stronger ball. So the Fate almost might be a bowl down from the Journey, even though technically on paper it's a ball up. So you can see that it looks about the same as it did shiny. It's just smoother now. So it's a little bit more controllable, and I did try it with 2000, at 2000 in League last night, and it's still just too fast. It's still just too fast. It just wants to be too fast. Ricky Bobby. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and add in the where did these go? Oh, there they are. Thank you. All right, so we're going to look at the TNT Infused now, because this is another one I wanted to talk about that I thought would be a good ball down from my summit. So this is the TNT Infused, just came out a couple weeks ago. And so if you were looking at the Journey and the Infused and kind of wondering which one to get, we'll talk about this for a minute. The TNT Infused has a stronger core. It's 257, 040, or 052. 247, did I say 57? 247, 052. So the RG is quite a bit lower than the Journey, which is 252, and then the differential is about the same. 052 versus 053, that's completely negligible. This has E-Trax Plus Hybrid on it, which is the hybrid version of the TNT cover and the RSTX2 cover. So very clean cover. It definitely rolls earlier, but it gets down the lane a whole lot easier because there's not as much dig out of the cover. So I can kind of hit it a little bit more. So I don't have to worry about, with the Journey, I was soft handing it a lot more to get it down the lane, and then to also keep it from going nuts on the back end, because if I hit up on the Journey or revved it up a little bit more, it was going to both dig in and then turn even more sideways. So I was trying to soft hand it to both get it down the lane and then be smoother on the back end. The Infused, even though it rolls heavier, it rolls earlier, not near as much traction out of the cover, and so I can just go on ahead and bang on it, catch it, and it just kind of floats, but the core keeps it really stable. So I think that this is a very surprising combination here, where actually, let me see, I need to, this one. Let me upload the next couple that we're going to look at. We are going to look at the Fate. So, there we go. The Infused is a hybrid. So we're going to go ahead, and I did take it down to 2000 grit, like I have been doing, because I just like the blend even more. But the thing is, this, like I was just talking about with the Journey, this is a weaker cover stock. Weaker covers get a whole lot stronger with surface and a whole lot weaker with shine. So the surface makes a whole lot bigger difference in the overall reaction of the ball. And the Infused, as soon as I took the Journey to 2000, and it was just smoother. I took the Infused to 2000, and it started hooking, 10 feet earlier. So I just absolutely could not get it down the lane from straighter. But once I got into this third arrow zone, It picked up a little bit earlier and it blended a little bit better down lane, so definitely a lot better surface for me on this one. Even though shiny it looked really good, this just blended it out more front to back and gave me a lot more forgiveness, specifically inside. So these could absolutely fit in the same bag. The Infused I actually have definitely have as earlier. It's also a little bit smoother. It is still pretty clean and responsive, but the heavy strong roll of the core kind of slows down the cover. But the cleaner, sharper cover actually gets that core down the lane and then adds a little bit of shape, because I think that with the solid version of this in the TNT, it was just too early and slow. This corrects the balance a little bit more, and so the Infused is a very, very surprisingly good ball. Any difference between React to Scuff versus 1,000 pad plus step 2? React to Scuff gets it a little bit duller. It depends on how much step 2 that you use, because depending on your touch, you can. I typically don't use a whole lot, and so my step 2 doesn't get it super shiny. It gets a nice little sheen on it. But the React to Scuff gets even a little bit more surface on it without really having too much on there. So, all right, we're done with that. We're gonna take a look at the Fate now. They're almost uploaded. So let me play some. Actually, I can play. Let me see here. Let me play the Duo. Play a little bit of Duo here, because this is another one that just came out a couple months ago. And I'm playing this from, this might be a little grainy because I'm, whoops. Oh. Playing this from the hard drive, so sorry if it's a little fuzzy. I'll try to interpret. So the Duo has a somewhat similar shape to the Journey. It's just the core is a little stronger in the Duo, and so it's a little earlier. But they are very, very similar, especially for Angel. It's just the Duo digs in earlier. The cover is a little stronger on the Duo, and the core is a little stronger. So the Duo is not quite as long as the Journey, and it's a little bit more directional. The Journey tumbles, but it's not necessarily directional. It wants to pick up and continue, where the Duo is more directional, and what I mean by that is that the Duo will go the direction that you're rolling it. So like Angel's getting around the side of it, so it's going to pick up and drive. But if you get more up the back of it, it will stop and go straight in the direction that you were rolling it. The Journey, even if you get kind of up the back of it, it wants to climb. It wants to pick up, and it wants to be more naturally continuous. So I think the big difference is the Journey is a little longer, it's a little sharper, and it's a little more continuous. And those are all things that it's like, oh, it's better, and better. That's not necessarily, those are just marketing buzzwords and whatever, because everybody wants something to go long. And I had somebody when I was in the pro shop one time, and they came in. It's like, well, do you have something that goes like really, really long, but then kind of acts like urethane on the back end? It's like, that's not how that works. You can't have something magically go 50 feet and then, really slow down. Physics doesn't work like that. So is the Infused a good ball for someone who has a solid rev rate but sometimes has trouble getting the ball to tip down lane when moving left of third arrow? The Infused is not necessarily. It kind of likes, I think the Journey is actually the ball for that. So getting it to tip down lane. Now I think that the Infused is really good for big rev rates, because you can bang on it and it's not going to fight you for length, but it's also going to be stable. It just doesn't necessarily like angle, because it is a more naturally forward reaction shape. The Journey, on the other hand, you can send it, it does nothing for 30 feet, and then it really boogies down lane. So The duo is, again, kind of right between them. It's more directional. It's not as forward as the Infused. It's a little stronger. It's the earliest one of the three, and it's in between the two on shape. It's faster than the Infused, but it's not as fast as the Journey. All right, are we processed yet here? There we go. All right, now we're going to go on ahead and play the Fate. So this is a look at the Fate. You can see it's a much rounder shape. And this is, again, I've said that the Fate is very, very hard to describe. It's a very hard ball to describe. It's very round, very IQ Tour-ish. So I can definitely hit this one a little bit more. That was a, what the hell are you doing? That was a terrible shot. For this one, I can definitely roll a little bit more, and it is really, really clean, and then it's just round down lane. Again, like an IQ, it's not quite as early as an IQ. This is like a stronger IQ Ruby type of look. You can see it's definitely quite a bit different than the Journey. That does want to go long, but then it wants to really turn over and go hard. This one I can just kind of hit and float. It kind of walks down there, it's really smooth and kind of quietly hooks the entire lane. You can see it's still pretty strong. It's getting back and it's doing just fine, but it's one of those balls that it's one of those balls that can be very hard to read. Just kind of point blank. It's kind of doing all the same things that the Journey does. It's smoother and slower about it, really. The Journey still wants to be continuous, like the Fate does, as it hook stops and flat sevens, or wrap sevens. That was a wrong seven. Yeah, I love the Fate's out of box reaction, but after it got a good amount of games on, I couldn't get that reaction back, and that is the big problem for a lot of people with the Fate, is that it ends up being too slow for them. I think that makes it a fantastic sport ball, because it's one of those that it's like, it's some balls that after they die, quote unquote die, they're a whole lot better than what they were to begin with. But most people want to just play third arrow and chuck the ball out there and watch it turn sideways on the back end. Well, that's not always the best ball reaction for you to have. All right, now we're going to take a look at Angel with the Fate. Very similar for her. It's very round. It's easy to get down the lane, very round and smooth on the back end, but it's still covering a lot of boards. The Fate and Journey in the bag is a good thing. Not necessarily a good thing. It just, they don't overlap each other hardly at all. I don't see any comparison. For me, they're very, very different balls. So definitely wouldn't have any issue putting both of those in the bag at the same time. Let me see. Some other people were asking about the Blackout. I've been able to get along with my new Fate. It's super, super niche for me compared to my old Fate. And that's kind of interesting. I haven't drilled the second one yet. I'm still on the first one that I had, which is just fine. I don't throw it a ton because it's gotten to the point where I'm getting into using stronger stuff. I use the Summit virtually all the time, and getting a whole lot weaker than that doesn't necessarily work. So I've been in like Summit, DNA, stuff like that. So I haven't gotten down to the fate in a while, actually. Certainly not enough to need a new one yet. Angel still throws hers occasionally. This is obviously a great shape for her. Looks really nice. Nice, blendy, smooth. She loves all things IQ. It kind of acts like a longer IQ. A little longer, a little more dynamic, a little more shape. Sometimes they can be a little slow and flat for her, and so having something like this that acts like an IQ but also doesn't act like an IQ is nice. And you can see it doesn't look like it's that strong. It just kind of glides down there and then eases in, but she's covering a lot of boards. She's covering quite a few boards with it. So, all right, we're going to go back to the journey here just to, once again, journey while the Blackout is uploading. Go back to the journey here. You can see the different shape. It's not quite the long, it's definitely longer up front, but it's not the round shaping, very tumble pop. And the colors could be throwing it off a little bit. Sometimes just having different colors, just having a different colorway on the same ball reaction can make it look quite a bit different than it actually is, but having thrown them both, it actually feels quite a bit different than the Fate. She's playing in about the same place. The journey is definitely clean. Again, it's cleaner than the Fate. The Fate starts picking up a little bit earlier. The journey goes long, and of course, if she gets it out, it just goes. Yeah, the journey almost has a bit of pivot tumble to it. Helps it kind of have more conviction to get the corners out from deeper angles. It does really need angle. Like the Fate is, and that's a good point to bring up to remind me that the Fate is a lot better from straighter angles. It doesn't like covering a whole lot of boards. The journey kind of needs the boards to cover because it likes rev rate. It really likes rev rate. It really likes playing angles. So the speed that you need to throw it at from straighter to get it down the lane kind of makes it a little over under. As soon as it sniffs friction, it wants to go. But if you can get deeper and then use your physical tricks to make the ball do what you want to do, it looks pretty good. But yeah, you can see once the journey starts picking up, it doesn't just kind of walk or ease in there like the Fate does. It really picks up and drives as it hits flat into the 7. Possible to get a phase 2 at 4K versus a journey at 4K. Probably won't do that for like a video, but the phase 2 is significantly stronger than the journey. And I talked about this in the review video because I actually have a hybrid phase 2. It's the phase G, and it's at it's TX16 hybrid. We never had it over here in the States, but it's kind of like NEX. The Axiom was like an arrow stronger than the Axiom Pearl, kind of the same way. The phase 2 is significantly stronger than the phase G. And even though the journey has a different core in it, and so it's got a whole lot higher RG core in it. So so the journey just is not going to be it's going to be a solid straight step down from the phase 2. There's no similarity in shape. The phase 2 again is kind of an archy climbing type of shape where the journey is long and then tumbly. But TX16 Pearl on this ball, even though we have the different core to kind of throw in the mix, it's definitely more along the lines of the phase G, is significantly cleaner and weaker than the phase 2. Would the Zen be much more forward off the spot than the Journey? Whoops. Yeah, the Zen's a more forward. Oh, well, okay, are we going to play or what are we going to do here? Whatever. Technical issues. Oh, this is what I'm drinking as I fix the camera. Ghost, it's a new flavor, sour pink lemonade. It's just not going to fix this camera. I need a different camera. This just does not like to stay in focus. It just doesn't. My face throws everything off. So, all right. So we're still waiting on Blackout stuff to. I'll play. Whoops. I'll play the Journey on my side again at 2K. I attempt to get the camera fixed. Can we focus? Can we focus? That looks better, maybe, perhaps, perchance. We'll see. So again, this is the Journey at 2,000 grit. I do have some Phase 2 footage I can play here. Have you ever liked the Phase 2 on the left side? No, it just did not look. All the other one, like any other Phase ball, Phase 3 looked really good. The Phase G looks good. I drilled that new phase, that overseas Phase Tour. That looks really good. Every other Phase ball but the Phase 2 is just too strong and too sharp and too forward. So to get it down the lane, I kind of have to bail on it, and then it wants to stop and go straight. But as soon as I touch the finger holes at all, it just turns sideways. It's just completely unthrowable. And this one still at 2,000 grit is uncomfortably over under for me. It's just definitely not a left side of the lane ball. Now, for somebody like Spencer Robarge, I think Spencer would murder with this ball. It's going to look totally, completely different because somebody that can hit it and put some speed on it, it really needs some speed to blend it out. More so than a lower rev rate, because I was soft handing flying out of it last night and it was still turning sideways, and I just had to put it away. And so I think it really, really just needs surface and speed. And if it has that, it's going to be hard to mess with. Did you like the USA? If so, what surface? I didn't have a USA. Angel has one, and she absolutely loves it. It looks perfect, and it does need some surface on it because it does get kind of slow and blah with the. What are we doing here? I don't know. This is annoying. This camera's annoying. Trying to play video is annoying. So yeah, let me see if our Blackout clips are ready yet. Doesn't quite look like it. Let me find a different ball. Oh yeah, I was gonna play the Phase 2. ADD strikes again. Phase 2. What was that? No, did I film more for? All right, let's try this one. I think this is the right one. I mean, this ball is just, I'm trying to play this straighter zone, but it's just not working. Yeah, more like ADS, attention deficit squirrel. I have to really, really just float this ball and be super nice to it for it to have any chance of getting down the lane. And if I actually get it down the lane, then it wants to kind of stop and go forward. but it's definitely orders of magnitude stronger than the Journey, especially with any kind of surface on. And this is shiny phase 2 right now. It's not so much the strength. The question was here, surprised you like the Summit so much and not the phase 2. The Summit is earlier, it's smoother, it's more tumbly, it's more continuous. And so what I fight with phase 2 is partially it's not necessarily the strength, it's the amount of shape it has, and then it wants to just stop and go forward if I get behind it at all. The Summit pulls up and does really well. We're just going to spin again because I forgot to hit loop. Yeah, it's just going to spin. Go back to blur. So yeah, the phase 2 is significantly stronger. Let's see if we can fix this again. Hey, there we go, because you wanted to see my face in focus. So the phase 2 is a whole lot stronger, a whole lot faster. And I guess I can play I can go ahead and, since we're talking about the Summit, and it does relate because I wanted the Journey to be a step down from the Summit. I really think it can be on the right side, not so much on the left side. Come on, damn it. All right, so this is actually the same exact filming session because the problem with these two things is that the Summit is TX23, which is an updated version of the phase 2 cover, so everybody's going to want to see the comparison. And then the Journey is the Pearl version of the phase 2 cover, so everybody's going to want to see the comparison, even though neither of them makes sense. The Summit's just fundamentally a different ball. You can see it still hooks a lot, but it's significantly calmer, tamer down the lane, and it's more naturally continuous. So I don't have to worry about getting all the way around the ball to get it to shape or to finish. But at the same time, if I don't put enough revs on the phase 2, it just wants to stand up and stop. So with the Summit, I can just kind of float right through the middle. It hooks a bunch, and then it's just really calm, and slow down lane. I don't have to fight the Summit for anything. I don't have to fight it for length. I don't have to fight it for shape. It hooks, it blends, it's continuous, and so it's just a whole bunch of things that the phase 2 is not. For those that have a rev rate though, and have better control over, have a rev rate and have speed, I think the phase 2 is definitely more suited to people like that. The Summit is, I think, for people with a little bit softer speed, a little bit softer, and here I'm just trying to play way too deep with it. And that's a pretty good shot, though. But the Summit's just so much more controllable. Watch a little bit more here. But I can just be real soft and easy out of it, and it's nice little tumble. Smooth, controllable, continuous. Just completely different look on the lane than the phase 2. Phase 2 is cleaner up front. It's also a whole lot faster down lane. It's more forward. Just woof. Not for me. Let me see. All right, we got the Blackout cut uploaded now, so. It'll let me select it. Not yet, apparently. There we go. Thank you. All right, now we're gonna look at the Blackout. This is another one that people want to see a comparison with, and this thing is dumb. It's actually got smoother than I recorded. Yeah, the Summit seems to cover a decent amount of boards for a bigger ball. It's just crazy. It does everything right. I can flop it down the side and walk it in, or I can get it to cover boards. It doesn't burn up. It doesn't quit. It can be a little slow sometimes, but that's about the only thing. It's a magic ball. I'm just gonna say it's a magic ball. I haven't said any staffer nonsense in this video yet, so we're just gonna make that it. The Blackout is just utter nonsense. Like, that was a terrible shot, and it just peeled and turned sideways. And this ball, I feel like I can just really elongate my backswing and just let it fly at the bottom. I can just send it because it's going to finish. It's going to turn sideways. It's going to go nuts. That's just what it's going to do. So I'm going to add the journey back in here. So this same surface prep. It's about time for me to wrap it up because I'm going to do the house shot version at 1 o'clock. I'm going to do the house shot version of I'm going to do League Essentials because the Sport Essentials last week was so popular. Plus, I don't have to show any video on screen, and so that's going to make this significantly easier. All right, so the Blackout is really just a bigger fate. It's a fate with a huge core. It's still got that same easy down the lane, really round, but it's a whole lot sharper down lane. It covers a whole lot more boards. So now as we add the journey back in, same surface. The journey is, I would say, actually a little earlier. It's earlier than the Blackout, but it's definitely a whole lot slower down lane. Definitely a lot slower. And the shape is different. The Blackout is just round, 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 all the way down. And the journey is just more tumbly. It's more defined on the back end. There's more of a definition from when it stops skidding to when it starts hooking. The Blackout is just a bang on it and send it and watch it peel monster. The journey is definitely sharper, or more defined. Not necessarily sharper because the Blackout covers a whole lot of boards on the back end. It has a whole lot of back end, but it's not as defined. It's rounder. It doesn't, stop going one direction, instantly stop and turn and go the other direction. It blends it. It almost like it hits the spot and it stops for a second and then it like accelerates. The journey kind of stops going one direction and starts going the other direction really quickly. Watching you in a mirror really helps me stay with you more on your oversights. Does that make it? That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. And I haven't done any mirrored stuff because the left side of the lane is cleaner and sharper than the right side. There's just really not any comparison between the left and right side of the lane to make it even worse. There's not as much use over there, so there's not as much built-in track friction, so there's naturally more length. And because the ball doesn't start hooking until it gets to the end of the pattern, it's got all kinds of energy left for shape down lane. So there's very, very little front to back blending from the lane surface on the left side, where there's tons of it on the right side. That's pretty much everything on the right side is just front to back blend. There's zero front to back blend on the left side. So, all right, I'm gonna go on ahead and Angel's Blackout has uploaded. Not quite done processing yet. So Yeah, I will go on ahead and show Angel's Journey now, and then we'll have the Blackout, and then we'll be done. Because I have to get onto that other stream. Hopefully this has been interesting and not too terrible, and hopefully the video quality has been at least good enough that you can get an idea. So back to the journey for Angel, and see, you can see the difference is with me being softer with it, I don't have a whole lot more revs in my part of the journey video than Angel does, but it's just her ball is slower. Her journey is significantly slower than mine is, and they're drilled really similar. I think I've got a 4.5-inch pin. It's 4.5 by 2. Hers is 4 5/8 by 2.5. So such a small layout difference that it's virtually negligible. Now she does get around it a little bit more, and she has a little bit more tilt than I do. But the journey is slower for her on the right side than it is for me, and I think the journey is going to look better just in general on the right side than the left side. I think the lefties are just going to fight it too much for shape, especially with how clean it is up front. Because you go from it going through the nose, and then if you throw a little bit harder, then it kind of wiggles. It's really tough, even with a lot of surface, to get everything kind of just right. So again, we're running really short on time. I got a few more minutes before I got to hop over to the other stream. So hopefully this video has Yep, it's uploaded. So now we're going to take a look at Angel with the Blackout. And her Blackout's her Blackout for her is smoother than mine is for me. Just again, on the right side of the lane, there's more lane surface friction front to back playing the track area, and so you can see the Blackout for her is still mostly strong-ish, definitely a whole lot rounder shape than the Journey. She's playing in virtually the same place. It's just rounder shape out of the Blackout. There's a little bit more torque out of the core, but hers is stuff just seems to be really smooth for her in general. So the Blackout, again, kind of like the Fate, is hard to really figure out what it does. It's as soon as you trust it to go long, then it digs in and hooks a lot more than it looks like it does kind of at surface value. But this is, again, they have the same cover, and REX Pearl seems to be create a very dominant reaction because the virtual series was kind of a hook set, somewhat forward series with every other cover on it. The virtual gravity, virtual energy, Gravity Evolve, whatever else, very kind of hook set, hockey stick-ish type looks. And then you put REX Pearl on it, and all of a sudden it's super round and blendy. I actually have the Infinite. I have the Infinite a little stronger than the Blackout, actually. Now, something I had noticed about the Blackout core is that the Shape Lock HD has always been surprisingly long for what it looks like on paper. So even though the Infinite and the Blackout cores are kind of on top of each other from a number standpoint, the atomic core in the Infinite is just earlier. It's just earlier. They have the same cover on it, so the Infinite is earlier and smoother for me than the Blackout is. The Blackout goes several more feet longer and covers more ground on the back end. So, all right. I'll just leave this playing while I kind of say goodbye here. Right up next so last week I did the Sport Essentials rankings rating thing, and so that was really popular, and so now we're going to do it for league bowls, because there's a whole lot more people that bowl on league conditions and sport conditions, and it's going to be interesting to see where the bowls finish differently. So if you're watching this as a video, or if you're watching this after the fact, you will have the league one to go to next if you want to check that out. I do have a journey video or a journey review up that covers all kinds of different things. So thanks everybody for hanging out for this, and we'll see you next time.